Hey, what's up, guys? Mike here again with Cashback Realty. Today's topic is a tough one. Today we're going to talk about divorce and who gets the house when a marriage splits up.
Okay, boy, I'm beating my best, I know. Feeling the part, living my life, dancing, let's make some noise.
If you're watching this video, you're probably going through a divorce, or you're thinking about it, or you're in some sort of separation. Hopefully, this video will shed some light on what happens in a divorce as far as the house is concerned, who gets the property, and what happens after that. Now, unlike so many of the other videos that you've probably watched already on YouTube that are depressing, I want to try to give you some information while at least enlightening your mood a little bit. All right, so drinking my pumpkin beer. Try this out, by the way, guys. If you like beer and you like pumpkin, check it out. It's pretty good. And with a topic like this, who couldn't use a drink, right? Let's start by talking about Florida. Florida is not a community property state. What does that mean? It means that all the marital assets don't automatically go to one party or the other. It doesn't get chopped down the middle. Florida uses what's called equitable or fair distribution. So what that means is whatever you entered the marriage with, you leave with, right? So if you own property or if you own assets before you got married, that pretty much belongs to you. Now, there are factors that determine whether or not that is the case when you go in front of a judge. Things like whether or not you have children in common, what your income is, how long you were married. These are different factors that will influence how assets are divided, how the marital home gets divided. So as we all know, unfortunately, almost half of all marriages will end in divorce. So what I want to stay focused on right now is the actual property, real estate property, the house, the property that was acquired while there was an existing marriage. So I'm going to go through 3 scenarios with real life anecdotes. These are actual stories that actually happened. So the first one is some couples, after they get separated or are going through a divorce, they actually still live under the same roof. They still cohabitate. And for obvious reasons, this is a bad idea. This is probably the worst thing 2 people going through a divorce can do for a myriad of reasons. I had a client of mine who was going through a divorce, and here's what's unique about this. They were both police officers, right? So they're going through a divorce. The husband was actually trying to get part of his wife's 401k because she had a significant amount of money in 401k, and he, in the divorce settlement, wanted part of his wife's money. They got into a big argument one evening when the wife came home, and it turned into a shootout in the house. It was like a scene out of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You guys know that spy movie with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie? Continue to live under the same roof while you're going through a divorce is probably not the choice you want to make. Scenario number 2, equity buyout, where one person, if there is equity in the house, so let's say, for example, you and your spouse have a house that has about $100,000 worth of equity in it. You're each entitled to $50,000 worth of equity in the property, right? One person can say, you know what, I'm going to keep the house, and I'm going to buy you out of your position in the property, right? I'm going to pay you $50,000 and you walk away and I keep the house. In other scenarios, the other spouse can just do a quitclaim deed, right? And sign over their interest if there is no equity in the house, or maybe they just have no interest in getting any part of the house and they just want to leave you with the house or give the other person the house. You can do what's called a quitclaim deed and relinquish your interest in the property so the other person takes over the mortgage payments solely as a condition of the divorce. So a few years ago, a husband that was going through a divorce with his wife retained me to do a market value report on the property because he wanted to keep the property. He didn't want to sell it. He wanted to buy his wife out of her position, and he couldn't get a hold of her. So I was able to get a hold of her and speak to her and explain to her that, listen, your husband doesn't want to sell the property. He wants to negotiate, buy you out of your position and pay you your equity and end up keeping the house. She was having none of it. Every single time I would call and get a hold of her, she would tell me different stories about things that happened during the marriage.
So did he tell you about the time that he actually tried to hide a woman in our garage?
Hopefully, it makes you realize how horrible it is, right? Because here's my position when it comes to divorces, by the way. I'm going off on a tangent here, but to the extent that you can save a marriage, you should always try to work things out. I've seen some of the pettiest things cause people to want to separate and break up, and it's just ego a lot of the times. Sometimes it's just arguments that shouldn't have gotten to the point that they got to, and especially if you have children, try to work it out if you can. I know that's not always possible, but especially if you have children, think about them. I don't advocate you doing number one, which is to cohabitate while you're going through a divorce. Sometimes it's not possible to do number two, like if you're going through a divorce, maybe you're strapped for cash, one spouse doesn't have enough cash or resources to buy the other spouse out and keep the property. Sometimes people can't afford to pay the mortgage on their own, and that leads to number one, which is either you have to sell the property or a judge orders that the property gets sold so that equity can be divided fairly. The one thing I want to emphasize, guys, is that divorce is not the end of the world. You can buy another house. You can, always get other property. To the extent that you can, always try to make it as civil as you can. Negotiate. It helps your peace of mind, right? You don't want to go through unnecessary grief, right? It's not the end of the world. Like I said, I've been there, done that. So I'm not just talking from other people's experience. I've been there before. So I know what it's like. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Believe me when I tell you, you're gonna be okay. Guys, my name is Michael Watkins. If I can ever help you, even if it's just to talk about, some options that you may have if you're going through, a situation like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.